Job search could be really energy draining and frustrating. Many times when I speak to people, they come to me when they are frustrated. They had enough of the lack of response sometimes, of sending applications and never hearing back, of being interviewed and being ghosted. So I believe that it's very important to try to avoid this frustration that we go through the job search process, or to learn how to deal with it.
Welcome back to O.R.B.I.T.S Consulting. My name is Manal Zainuddin, Global Education Consultant and founder of O.R.B.I.T.S Development Code, an approach for conscious learning and being. This podcast highlights education communities from macro and micro angles, leadership, learning, personal and professional growth across multiple disciplines. Education is holistic and as vast and infinite as the cosmos. As we bring stories, interviews, talks, projects from around this globe, I extend Plutarch's famous quote that I had posted in the schools I have worked in. The mind is not a vessel to be filled, but a fire to be kindled. At this time of year in many countries, some teachers decide to take their profession to another level and move to another school, as we all know. And this process may seem simple to many, but it is not in reality, and especially in this 21st century era. We all know now that academic proficiencies are not the only standards sought by school owners, by principals, and directors. Today, our guest is a job search coach, Marshall Goldsmith certified leadership coach, senior HR generalist, recruitment expert, and she sums all that by building strong relationships, as she says. Jihan Najjar. Jihan is the founder of the Academic Jobs Middle East and Leverage Consulting. Jihan, I'm very pleased to have you with us today.
Thank you, Manal. Same here. It's a pleasure to be with you on this podcast.
I think the best way to start with is your own journey and how being a coach helped you in human resources field as you help schools, teachers, and clients from all other industries in recruitment and job search.
Thank you for the introduction. You summed it up. But to add to what you mentioned, Manal, I started my career in HR, and I was exposed to some project in education, educational reform when I was working in Qatar, and I have a great interest in the education field. So a few years back, when I was raising my kids and trying to work at the same time, I completed certificate. I got certified with Marshall Goldsmith, and I started coaching. That was almost 4 years ago. And it gave me a great satisfaction to see that my coaching is of help to people that are looking for work, that are trying to grow in their career, and gave me the motivation to do more of this. So besides my HR consulting work, I'm very much interested in coaching different types of professionals at different levels, whether leaders or fresh graduates sometimes. And I had the chance to coach people from the education industry, teachers, university professors, and school leaders. So this is in brief who I am, in addition to what you mentioned.
And I think this is an exciting beginning for our talk. Today, we will be covering this topic from the potential recruited, the candidates, as we name them, from the candidate side and the recruiter side as well. We will start first with the potential recruited or the candidates. Now, the process of job searching has already started in so many countries, as we all know. Now, many educators, teachers, or even leaders may like to search for better job opportunities. What important points do you think are needed to carry that through? And do you recommend a certain process, the set of procedures? Because I think this is what's missing in that entire process.
Job search could be really energy draining and frustrating. Many times when I speak to people, they come to me when they are frustrated. They had enough of the lack of response sometimes, of sending applications and never hearing back, of being interviewed and being ghosted. So I believe that it's very important to try to avoid this frustration that we go through the job search process, or to learn how to deal with it, to overcome it. So any search, you just mentioned that people started searching now at this time of the year. It's very important to put everything negative behind us and try to structure our search and plan for it with a positive attitude. We all had negative experiences related to job search, interviews, job offer negotiation, but let's try to approach it with full energy and optimism, coupled, of course, with some kind of strategy, a job search strategy and plan that we will follow in order to achieve better outcomes. There are no guarantees. Nobody can guarantee that if I start my search now, I'll find a job, but at least I'll be following a process that is clear and structured to secure better outcomes. Every teacher or school administrator might choose to have this strategy or to structure or design their strategy and structure their plan, their job search plan on their own. It doesn't take much. It takes a clear mind and knowing what you want, what your target employers are, and where you might be attractive, what places or what institutions might be interested in your profile and experience, and try to put together a plan. Now, whether you do it with a job search coach or on your own, it's important to have some tools in place. The first one is, of course, the resume, the CV that highlights your career history, your education, your strengths, your achievement. And I focus a lot on having a well-written resume because this is the first question I ask job seekers. Show me, please, your resume because I would like to see if it represents you, if it's well-written, if it's clear. And always have in mind that the first person reading the resume might be a recruiter, not a teacher, not a school leader. It might be someone screening those resumes.
True.
It should be concise, clear, easy to read, and with a simple design that doesn't make it look very crowded. What I mean by being clear, for example, what grades you have taught, what subjects you have taught, what extracurricular activities or what projects you have worked on, etc. So the second thing besides the resume is to have a job search plan, which I mentioned earlier. List clearly your target employers, what locations you are interested in if you're looking for international employment, and take action based on this plan. So whenever you apply for a role, track it on this sheet. It could be an Excel sheet, it could be a paper, whatever you want, and try to track your applications, try to follow up with the right people internally. If you make it to the interview stage, contact the recruiter whenever it's possible. Could be via LinkedIn. Now everybody is on LinkedIn. Follow that person. Try to engage with them on LinkedIn. Try to leave a good impression. Communicate your interest. Communicate that you have applied for a specific role and that you are a good fit because of. Let your messages be short because no one has the time to read long messages from different applicants. Make them short and straight to the point and highlight your value to the organization or your key experience. So this, together with the job search plan, together with your follow-up, should lead to better results. Now, many people ask me, is it okay to follow up after I apply or after an interview? Definitely follow up after an interview. Interviewers are very busy, recruiters are very busy, and in some places, your application or the interviewer might want to get in touch with you, but then they delay it. So just send a short email or message following up on your application, re-emphasizing your interest in joining the organization and your availability, and don't overdo it. So it's okay to follow up one time. It's okay to thank the interviewer after the interview, follow up within a week or whenever they said you should follow up, and leave it there. Do not try to stalk them by sending messages on email, LinkedIn, etc. on the same time. So do it moderately and wisely and depending on the situation and where you left it during the interview. Now, my last advice is to try to utilize your network. If you are actively looking now, try to approach people that have worked with you in the past, ex-colleagues or ex-bosses, people that might be able to recommend you where they work or refer you internally within their circuit. Many times I approach someone and they tell me we're not interested, but we know someone who's looking, and they give me the name or they give them my contact. So try to be more vocal about your job search and spread the word.
Well, these are very important tips, and although they seem very simple on the surface level, I think at a deep level they do matter to people who are searching for the jobs and to the recruiters who are searching for the right candidates, because simply it shows dedication and commitment to a task that you are doing at hand. And I think this moves the journey now to a more serious level, the interview. You just mentioned a little bit about the interview, but like mentioned, now there are more criteria in this 21st century era that emerged with the 21st century skills. Now, having high quality credentials is necessary, definitely, for the academic responsibilities of the job. But now we know that this is not enough to show in an interview. So, from your viewpoint, what are the factors that make an interview successful? Preparing for the interview and being in an interview.
Okay, so if I am preparing for an interview, I want to interview a candidate. What I normally do is that I prepare my questions based on the job description that I have. It all starts with a well-written job description that highlights the key responsibilities, the key competencies, the key skills, the education requirement, etc. And during the interview, I try to assess beyond this. So I'm not only assessing their skills, I'm also trying to see what kind of person I'm speaking to. Does this person, or does the values that this person bring to the organization, are they in line with the organization's values? Would this person be a good fit to the team? Would this person work well with the coordinator, the principal, etc.? So if it's a teacher, if it's someone in administration, I also do the same. Do they have the motivation to work for this team? Is it a good career fit for that person? Sometimes job seekers try to compromise when they are desperate or really in need for a job. So they might, for example, an HR manager might apply for a recruiter role, or a coordinator might apply for a teacher role thinking that she or he will be happy. But then you know that if they join, you cannot offer them all that they are looking for in terms of responsibilities, job satisfaction, pay, etc. My role as a recruiter to assess this. Besides the job description, you need to have the CV of the candidate in front of you when you interview. You need to read it ahead of time, and you need to put some question related to the experience or some areas that were not clear enough for you in the CV, or maybe you might want to ask about more details related to work they have done, which they have mentioned in the CV. So it's important. The two key documents for the recruiter are the job description and the CV. Have them in front of you, read them ahead of time so that you are prepared. Many times interviewers do not have time to be prepared, and it shows. And it shows that they didn't give much attention to the interview process. It shows lack of professionalism, and this is not well received by the candidate. And allocating enough time also, Manal, is very important. So sometimes you rush during the interview, and by the end, you feel you haven't assessed the person well, and it's because of the rush. When you use a certain system and you apply it across with all the interviewees, you have the same set of questions, you are taking notes, you are assessing against the same dimensions or factors, then it's easier to make a decision, an objective decision on who is the best person for this role. Give the interviewer the time they need, welcome them, make them feel comfortable, leave room at the end of the interview for questions. They might have many questions. Encourage them to ask, because many are, especially like young graduates or people who haven't been working for long, they are shy to ask sometimes. They don't know if they should ask or not. So encourage them, try to make them feel comfortable, show interest in their application, and end the interview with clarity. Let them know that you will get back to them if they are shortlisted, or that you will email them, and how much time the process will require, etc. This is from the interviewer side, what the interviewer needs to do to be prepared. If you are going for an interview, you also need to be prepared. I recommend that you always research the institution, the interviewer, try to go through the job description if you have that, or the job ad, prepare some questions in advance, go through your CV that you submitted for the role, because sometimes we tailor our CV for different positions. So make sure you have it with you, yes, and because you will be asked questions related to this specific experience. When you research the interviewer, the person that will be meeting you, it's a great opportunity to network with that person. So if the person is on LinkedIn, connect with them so that later on you might want to send them a thank you message via LinkedIn. They are now part of your network. You met them, it's okay to connect with them. And try to identify the potential questions based on the job ad or job advertisement, or the job description. Try to predict what kind of questions you will be asked and prepare for those questions. In addition to the common questions like tell me more about yourself, why are you interested in joining our institution, or take me through your experience, or the pay expectations question, try to prepare for that so that you are comfortable during the interview.
Yes, these are very important points, especially that some candidates come to the interview with hidden fear. And like you mentioned, they do not prepare much for what is expected. So this will quickly show on their features. They become nervous and worried and already thinking of the result of the interview while
Mhm.
they are still in the interview, during
Very
the interview. And this puts them under more pressure.
Very true. This anxiety comes from lack of preparation sometimes. So the more
Right.
we prepare, the more we practice. And it's very important to tell ourselves as candidates that we will do our best, and whatever the outcome is, then we will accept it. So if you go with this attitude, go prepared and go ready for any outcomes as long as you did your best, this might control a bit the anxiety of being interviewed or trying to show your best in one session. It's not easy. The interviewer is a total stranger. So feeling comfortable isn't always possible. It also
Right.
depends on the person meeting you and whether
Absolutely.
they make you feel comfortable or they make you feel more anxious. My approach and my advice to interviewers is make the person feel comfortable. This person will be part of your team, and it's good that they feel welcome from day one, from the interview.
Yes, and I remember, Jihan, you have conducted once a poll about mock interviews. Can you tell us the results and your input and whether you recommend it or not? Because this relates to what we are talking about right now.
Yes, this was a brief, very simple question that I posted on social media, mainly on LinkedIn. And I had around 100 responses from different people. It was almost 50-50, Manal. So almost
Oh,
49 yeah. So 49% of the people said that they take mock interviews before the actual interview. And 51 said they don't. So it's almost a tie. Mock interviews are very important. As I mentioned earlier, they help you get prepared and control the anxiety. They help you remember all what you need to remember. Because sometimes when you've been working for 10, 15, 20 years, if you want to share examples from your experience and you are asked about that during the interview,
yes,
sometimes
yes,
they don't come to mind. You need time to, and you are under pressure sometimes, so you don't have the answers ready. While when you are
yes,
prepared in advance, you have all the time you need to remember all these experience and
yes,
give the right example. So the time factor is very important. Preparation, having the time in advance to prepare is very important. Mock interviews are a chance for you to make mistakes and correct yourself before the actual
perfect. Yeah.
interview. So just go through this role playing, whether in front of your mirror or with an interview coach, and try to improve, practice and improve up to the point where you feel comfortable going to any interview, anytime, with any person. This is the importance of mock interviews. It is definitely very important.
Yes, and I agree with you at this point as well. Coming to the critical point, Jihan, salaries. Some teachers fail in the middle of the job search journey due to the way they present their salary inquiries. So,
Mhm.
what tips do you give regarding salary negotiation?
I would like to go a step backwards, Manal, and talk about the offer as a whole and not only the salary, because salary is part of this offer. So sometimes a teacher might want to teach in China, let's say, and they compromise on something in order to get this experience, right? So
Right.
it's for some people, it's the package. For a working parent, it could be the support we get. If we teach at the institution, we get some tuition support or deduction. So it might matter for a working parent more than a single person. So
True.
they might accept an average salary if this is an additional benefit. So my advice to people in general, to job seekers in general, and to school teachers in particular, is to go through the entire offer, read all the terms, and see if anything is not clear. See if everything that was discussed in the interview is there. Verify all the information before you sign and accept. Also, sometimes I was asked about my pay expectations, but I wasn't ready. What do I do, etc. And I noticed that sometimes we feel pressured to answer this question on the spot, while in reality, we don't have to answer it on the spot. If,
True.
for example, you're being interviewed for a role, sometimes big institutions, they speak to you and they have two roles. Let's say one in Oman, one in the UAE. And the salary scale for each country is different. Maybe you haven't thought much about the role in one of these countries, one of the two countries. So don't feel pressured to give an answer on the spot. You need time to research the market, to ask your friends, to look online. And you can simply answer by saying, I haven't had the chance to look at the packages in this market. I would like to do some research and get back to you. So don't feel
Perfect.
pressure to give an answer on the spot. However, if it's clear for you what country you are being interviewed for and what job you are being interviewed for, prepare in advance so that you are able to answer this question on the spot. When you go in general for job offer negotiation, or when you are in a situation when you have to negotiate your offer, try not to negotiate everything. Try not to seem as a difficult person.
Right.
Instead, choose based on your priorities and your preferences. What are two, let's say, items or two terms of this offer that you would like to negotiate? And accept that some terms are non-negotiables, like allowances. Normally, they are fixed.
Right.
Title could be fixed. In other institutions, the title could be flexible in smaller, more
Right.
lenient institutions. So understand the setup. Do not apply one approach fits all. Understand the organization, understand your preferences, and try to negotiate within limits.
Wow, this is insightful, Jihan. Really, thank you very much. Regarding leaders or the recruiters, what do you think, if we can sum up, because we have already mentioned a few points, but if you can add to that the best practices that they can take to make the process most profitable in terms of value and budget? Because also budget is crucial in this entire
Of course.
process, but value is even more. How can they reach this balance? Because it all starts in the recruitment process.
Sure. To have a very efficient recruitment process is sometimes a challenge. First, you need the right person to be handling this. Whenever it's possible, a dedicated team or a dedicated person who understands the HR function and the best practices in recruitment and staffing should be handling this. So if in some cases I understand that it's someone in administration handling this or the school principal handling this. But in general, of course, the best thing is to try to retain our staff. This is the least costly option.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
if we have vacancies and we need to recruit, I would think that having an internal referral program, for example, might be a good option. So you might want to communicate to your staff and to your teachers that if they refer people and they are hired, they will get a small fee or a small reward for that. This is applied in many organizations. I don't think it's applied, it's common in schools. Maybe it is in some, but it's worth trying at least. Another way could be online marketing. So you might be marketing the institution on social media or on your website, and at the same time advertising the job vacancies that you have. And this is a very affordable option on social media platforms. It is more expensive on some, but you might use the budget that you have efficiently to design a campaign that targets the kind of population that might have your target teacher or target administrator. If you have a website, advertise on the website. If you have a LinkedIn page, post the job there. Use even Instagram or Facebook to advertise. It's commonly used now. I would like to mention that it's also important to build good relationships with career services offices of universities in the countries where you are recruiting. Universities that have education programs, teaching diploma,
Right.
or that teach the programs, the common programs that are taught at schools. So build good relationship with them, attend their job fairs. This is not very costly, and
Right.
plan and organize for this. recruitment as part of your overall strategy. So it is not a reaction to an immediate need. Try to plan for this ahead of time, make it part of your strategy to attract the best people and allocate a budget for it, no matter what this budget it is, and be proactive in this area. I want to mention that at Academic Jobs, the website that I started a few years back just because COVID,
Yes.
we regularly offer free advertisements. And on Academic Jobs, it's very easy for institutions to subscribe and post their vacancies directly. And eventually they'll receive applications either through a link to their website or to their email. So it's very
This is great.
user-friendly. Yeah, it's very user-friendly, Manal. They can
Yes.
try it and see. They subscribe, they are approved in the back end, and then they can do anything they want on their own. It is for job seekers to subscribe as well as for institutions or
Yes.
employers. And not only the vacancy, but also you can upload your logo as an institution, put a link to your website. So it also promotes the institution as well as the
That's
vacancies they have. Yeah, and I would like to announce that now during this time, it is for free. Advertising on Academic Jobs is for free, and anyone can try it and see if it works for them.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic because I think this is one of the ways that they can use now, especially now at this peak time of recruitment, as all schools are searching to fill their the vacancies they have, and it's a good way for networking as well.
It is for sure.
Yes. This is such a broad and critical topic, actually, and I think it needs extended discussions when it comes to education and the influence of a successful recruitment process on the performance of teachers later and the learning outcomes that we all seek. And the way you put it all together, Jihan, from a coach perspective as well, was really enlightening. And I remember you wrote in one of your posts, and here I quote, network with recruiters like you do with any other business contacts, but don't build up your hopes about finding a new role just based on that. Rely on yourself in your job search, end quote. So there is no doubt that so much is still needed in this field. And I think in this context, I'm very happy that you mentioned as well Academic Jobs, the forum where they log in and network with other institutions as well. Jihan, it was such a lovely time that we have spent this morning with you. Thank you so much for this insightful talk.
Thank you, Manal, for giving me the chance. I hope it was useful for the audience. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
And as usual, we come to the open-ended question. And in this guest episode, I leave this question to our guest, Jihan Najjar, the job search coach and senior HR generalist. Jihan?
I've always thought about teachers and the role they play in our society. And in my opinion, sometimes they are not compensated as they should be. They are not valued as they should
True.
be. I always ask myself the question, like beyond the Teachers' Day and beyond the love that parents and kids bring or offer back to the teacher, how are we as institutions showing appreciation, or as employers showing our appreciation to the teachers? How are we showing them that they are behind our success, that without them, we cannot achieve our goals and we cannot sustain our presence? So I would like to see more creative ways of expressing this gratitude to teachers through certain programs, through opportunities, and through fair pay, of course. I would like to leave it at this, Manal, and this is a question to all leaders trying to be creative and trying to change the way things are done to achieve better outcomes and be leaders, real leaders in what they do.